I never expected my Uncle Harold's death would change my life, but when his lawyer called me into his office 3 months ago, everything shifted. Your uncle left you his entire estate, Mr. Peterson said, sliding a thick folder across his mahogany desk, including his position as majority shareholder of the Meadowbrook Heights Homeowners Association. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? He owned 63% of the HOA shares. He bought them up over the years as people sold out. Technically, you now control the entire board. My hands trembled as I opened the folder. Uncle Harold had always been eccentric, but this was next level. As I flipped through the documents, one name kept appearing in red ink throughout the margins. Sharon Hartwell, legal action pending. Who's Sharon Hartwell? I asked. Mr. Peterson's expression darkened. That's complicated. She was the HOA president before your uncle took control. She's currently serving time for embezzlement and harassment. Gets out next week, actually. My stomach dropped. And she's coming back to the neighborhood? Her house is still there. She never sold it. He leaned forward. Your uncle left detailed notes. Sharon terrorized that community for 8 years. $23,000 in fraudulent fines, forged documents, even filed false police reports against residents who oppose her. Your uncle finally gathered enough evidence to have her prosecuted. I spent the next week reading Uncle Harold's meticulous records. Sharon had fined people for grass being a quarter-inch too long, banned children's chalk drawings, towed cars from owners' own driveways, and even tried to force a veteran to remove his American flag. The deeper I dug, the more my blood boiled. On Tuesday morning, I was inspecting the HOA office, a small building near the community pool, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this the new HOA president? A woman's voice crackled through the speaker, sharp as broken glass. This is James Chun. Who's calling? Sharon Hartwell. I'm sure you've heard of me. Her laugh was cold. I got out yesterday. Early release for good behavior. And I want you to know I'm taking back what's mine. My grip tightened on the phone. The HOA isn't yours. My uncle. Your uncle was a thief who stole my life's work, she screamed. I built that HOA from nothing. Every rule, every policy, that was me. And some nobody inherits it because what? You're related to the old fool. Harold Chun was a decorated professor and a good man who stopped you from. The line went dead. I immediately called the residents for an emergency meeting. That evening, 42 homeowners packed into the community center. I recognized several names from Uncle Harold's notes. The Johnsons, who Sharon had fined $8,000 for a pink mailbox. Elderly Mrs. Rodriguez, who Sharon tried to evict for having a garden gnome. And Marcus Williams, the veteran she targeted. She called me today. Marcus said, standing up, his voice was steady but his hands shook. Told me she's back and things are going to change. That she has lawyers. Murmurs of fear rippled through the room. Listen, I said, raising my hands. I know you're all scared, but I have controlling interest in the HOA. Sharon has no legal authority here anymore. If she harasses anyone, we document it and call the police. Mrs. Rodriguez stood, her eyes wet. You don't understand, dear. Sharon doesn't care about legal authority. She makes your life hell until you break. The next morning, I found out exactly what she meant. I pulled up to the HOA office to find Sharon standing on the steps, arms crossed, wearing a blazer that screamed authority despite having none. She was tall, rail-thin, with steel-gray hair pulled into a severe bun. Her eyes were ice chips. You're trespassing, I said, climbing out my truck. This is HOA property. I'm a resident. I have every right to be here. She descended the steps like a judge approaching the bench. I've already documented 47 violations throughout the community this morning. Overgrown hedges, unauthorized patio furniture, cars parked facing the wrong direction. You have no authority to document anything. I have every right as a concerned resident to report violations. She shoved a stack of papers at my chest. I'm filing formal complaints against 12 households. As HOA president, you're required to process these within 72 hours per bylaws. I looked at the papers. She'd cited the Johnson for having a welcome mat that was non-compliant colors, Mrs. Rodriguez for her garden gnome being visible from the street, and Marcus for his flag being improperly sized. These are ridiculous. They're the rules I wrote. Your uncle may have corrupted the board, but the bylaws still stand. Her smile was venomous. I spent 18 months studying HOA law in prison. I know every loophole, every regulation. I'm going to bury you in paperwork until you beg me to buy back control. Get off this property. Now! Or what? You'll call the police? She laughed. I've already filed a complaint with the county about your uncle's irregular acquisition of HOA shares. I have a meeting with a judge next week. Enjoy your little power trip while it lasts. She turned and walked away, pulling out her phone to photograph a resident's slightly crooked mailbox. I immediately called an emergency board meeting with the two other remaining members, both Uncle Harold appointees who'd survived Sharon's reign. We spent 6 hours combing through every bylaw she'd ever written. Wait, said Tom Brennan, our treasurer. Look at this clause. Section 4.7. Any bylaw written or amended by a board member later convicted of fraud or embezzlement related to HOA business becomes null and void upon conviction. She wrote that. I asked 10 years ago. Try to protect herself from a previous board member she was pushing out. Tom grinned. She never imagined it would apply to her. So every rule she wrote, legally unenforceable. The next morning, I had new bylaws printed and hand-delivered to every resident. Reasonable rules. Maintain your property, respect your neighbors, no actual hazards. Gone were the paint color restrictions, the mailbox specifications, the grass height requirements. I contacted a lawyer who confirmed our legal standing. Sharon appeared at my door at noon, documents clutched in her shaking hands. You can't do this. Those are MY bylaws. I spent years. Your bylaws were nullified when you were convicted. It's in Section 4.7, your own clause. I handed her a copy. The new rules are posted. Harassment of any resident will result in immediate legal action and a restraining order. Her face went purple. I'll sue. I'll take this to court. You're a convicted felon on probation, Sharon. Your parole officer is one call away. I kept my voice level. You have two choices. Follow the new rules like everyone else, or continue this behavior and go back to prison. My lawyers can't change the facts. You embezzle from this community. You harass residents. Uncle Harold documented everything, and I have copies of all of it. I stepped closer. The county prosecutor said if you violate your probation terms, which include not engaging in harassment, they'll reconsider your early release. For the first time, Sharon's confidence cracked. Her hands trembled.